what do you think? What is website? Website is a big umbrella in which we have smaller sections. Okay, so website is something which has movies, and we have images, we have text, we have different content, and that everything is like holded together by a code. Okay, that code is what we call technology, which is Java, or which can be HTML5, or that can be jQuery, which is for mobile, CSS. Okay, these are the technologies which they use to run a website. So in website, we have this normal Myntra.com, Flipkart.com, MyCities.com. Those are websites. Okay, and then we have static websites. Static websites are those which give you information. Okay, which you can't really modify and get the things out of it. Like on Google, if you have blog is not a website though, but blog is like an example of static website, because on Behance you can't really manipulate anything, but that gives you an information, that gives you a lot of knowledge. So that's why we call it a static website. Okay. Then we have dynamic websites. Dynamic websites, for example, if we have GoAir, or we have Heathrow.com, airport.com. Okay. So these websites, they have dynamic data getting loaded each second. If there is a flight landed, the data will change. Next second, if you open the website, that flight won't be there on the top. Some other flight will be there displayed. So that is continuously changing. So that's why it takes the dynamic text into it, and it reflects you once you open that particular website. Okay, so that's what we call a dynamic website. Then there are intranets. You must be having your own intranet running, right? Like in Cognizant, if we have to fill the timesheet, so Cognizant.com, inside that umbrella, we have one Cognizant.Cognizant.com. So one Cognizant is where we go and fill our timesheets for a month, or if we have any queries, we ask technical guys through that website. So that is called intranet. Intranet is not something which you can use. Suppose if you want to use Cognizant.Cognizant.com, so you won't be able to use it because you don't have the ID password for that, right? So whatever which takes an ID and password and which is restricted to a particular organization, those are called intranet website. Okay. Then we have web applications. Applications are those. It's basically a inbuilt. Suppose if a software, maybe a Photoshop kind of a software, which is given on internet. You really don't have to install that on your machine. You can use it on the go. On using internet, you can use that particular application. Those are called web applications. Then big thing, mobile. Everybody wants everything now on mobile. Though people don't want to use their laptop, PCs, they're like long on. They are still in our life because we need specific hardware which are heavy. But now if you see a CEO of a company, they don't want to use laptops or mobile desktops anymore. Because why? They are busy. They want things on the go. So mobile is coming big way in the scenario. Okay. So for mobile, when you design a website, it's a completely different game altogether, because mobile has a very small screen. Okay. And then suppose if your website is having maybe, this is your website, okay, where you have a big banner here, you have a logo here, you have some context here, you have few portlets which shows something, you have a menu bar here. Okay, typical structure of the user login. This is the typical structure of the website. If you want this on your mobile, okay, if suppose think of it, if you have this entire thing on your mobile, how difficult it will be just to see on this smaller screen. If you want everything to be seen on this much of a screen, it's not possible to see. You have to zoom and check what is going on there, right? So for that, we have something called responsive web design. Okay, we'll deep dive into it a little while we go ahead. Responsive web design is a term for that. So what we do in that, we basically try and design what is important in it. Is this image which is of this size is important to be there on website, on iPad? No, then we can make it smaller. These portlets can go one below each other, right? This thing can be added as a more button. So you click you get this menu bar on the side. So you don't really have to use that space. You can always hide that. Whatever is important. Suppose if it's a banking website, okay, and this is an iPad. Suppose if I want it on a mobile, okay. So now this has become this. Now I want this on this. Okay. In mobile, does this image is really important? Is it communicating anything on your this thing? If I see it on mobile, it's not really important. So what I can do is I'll get rid of this image and directly start with maybe the portraits which are important. That too, which are only important. Okay. You have a menu bar here. So if you click, everything slides on the right and you have the menu bar here. So how I'll maybe categorize this, if it's a banking website, what the most necessary thing I have to do is first log in, check my transaction. So I'll do all these things here, which we call a real estate on a website. Yeah. Whenever you see any website, whatever you see on the first glance is a real estate, main real estate. Okay. Then if you have to scroll, then it's going down. I mean, it's not always said that if you want something to be the content which is extremely important, always see it on the front. Don't let the user scroll down, because there are chances that user may not scroll down, user close and go away from your website. So that's not good for your business, or like for your client which you are designing. And some examples of how mobile art. So what I'm saying is, suppose if you see here, there's a lot of text. Okay, so it's not so user friendly. But if you see here, you have these big icons which you can easily tap. Right? It's psychologically this looks simpler. You will go for this rather than that. I just said it. So basically, when you designing for mobile, make sure that you use those images which are very important to viewer. Anything which is not important, get rid of it right away. You can always tell it to client that this image, no matter how beautiful it is, but it's not gonna add anything to it. It's just because mobile we can't connect data cable to it. It's gonna run on 3G or your Wi-Fi, which cannot be always good, right? And if you have a bigger images with high res images, full spread, it's gonna take time for user to load the website already. So your time is wasted. Sometimes if the connection is not strong, you will just okay, I don't want to do it right now, I'll do it later on. Yeah. So you're just deviating user. So let's not do that. Responsive is just what I said. Yeah, this is very important. Elements are basically, when I say in mobile, when you have to give a scroll. Suppose if you have to fit the entire content into mobile, it's gonna be a vertical scroll, right? You can't just really fit everything here. So it's gonna be scroll, vertical scroll, which is easy. Like that's we are habituated. Even if you open the WhatsApp, we just scroll it. It's a very micro interaction we do. We don't really, our brain really don't have to function for it. To scroll. It automatically gets scrolled. So that's a best practice. But if you are giving something like you have a horizontal scroll, suppose in Facebook mobile, if you see, sometimes you have a horizontal scroll. Check how many people actually use it. Very hardly somebody you will see who's doing the horizontal scroll. If there is anything, we just tend to ignore that something might be there. We don't see it. So avoid horizontal scrolls when you do and designing for websites. For mobile. Okay? White space. Though I said a lot about key things which are important and all, but white space is also very important. Sometimes what happens is, this is also important, this is also important, this is also important. I put everything on the first screen itself. But in that time, there are chances that you will just confuse the viewer. Okay? I mean, if I open it for first time and I see so much of content on the go, though everything is important, okay? But if a viewer is getting confused where to look at, it's not of any use again. So don't get scared to use white space. Use a lot of white space. Look at Apple's website. They use a lot of white space. Their ratio is some 60 to 40. 60% is their content. Out of 60% also there is 40% of images, 20% of content. Everything else 40% is a white space. They don't use nothing. Don't extras nothing. just a simple, very light gray gradient, but it looks very elegant. People give examples. Client tells us that okay, I want a website which looks like an apple. No, but that sells that white space. So don't ever scare of using white space. Then there are a few key elements which are very important. These things, if you don't use these things, your website is not going to look good. So when we have that, let's start with what I want first in wireframe. What are wireframes? Wireframes are those things which we call as a skeleton of a website. Okay? Suppose if he's a client, he gave me an website to work on. Okay? My team is gonna be, how it's structured in IT is, first is your content writers, okay? Then UX designers, then UI designers, okay? Then web developers. Then we have SEO. Then we have accessibility experts. Then this is where the client is. Okay. And this is where the product is. It runs through all these departments to come up with a product. Okay, I'll tell you one by one. So client, he gave me that I need a website for my upcoming phone. Okay, so what I'll do is, okay, good. I'll send my business analyst who will analyze his requirement. Suppose if you are a business analyst, we'll go to him and ask him that, Acha, tell me what do you need, what do you really want to sell. You will take that input, he wants to sell, he wants to create his brand name, he has this service offering. So you will note everything down. Then what you will do, you will go to a content writer. Okay? What content writer will do is he will take your pointers and convert it into a brief description of his website. Okay? That brief description will go to UX designers. Okay? What UX designer will do, he will take the input from content writer, he'll analyze the entire input. Okay, he'll come to know that Achha, this guy is trying to sell his work first, so portfolio is important. Who are working with his organization, those people are important because client is going to see that who's really working on it, what are their qualifications, what kind of a clients they have worked before. So these things are important. So UX designer has analyzed that, and what he'll do is he'll come up with a wireframe. Okay? Wireframe is like a rough structure of a website. We'll just do it and black and white sketch of, okay, this is where your logo will come. You will have your menu bar here. Then your portfolio, which will keep on paginating one after dynamically. Then you have your footer. And maybe there will be two portlets where you talk about your clients and your work. Okay? This is a rough layout, like a pencil sketch he'll do. He'll send this to client, okay, UX designer, user interaction designer, or what we say user experience designer. A client will say that, okay, this is good, but I would like to have somebody who can log in also in my website. Okay, so I can have his database. If I have to contact him later on, I can use that data, right? So client has given the UX designer that I need something, login, maybe a login button here. So UX designer will add a login button. So this is freezed now. Okay, client is happy, UX designer is happy that okay, this is gonna be a rough structure of my website. Once this rough structure is ready, it will go to UI designers, okay, which are mostly what I do. We take this rough skeleton of a black and white website and I try to skin it. I'll check his what kind of a logo he has, what are the colors which has been used in the logo. do they have any particular brand guideline for, because we get brand guidelines. Suppose if you are working for Heathrow, LondonHeathrow.com, okay, it's a huge airport. They have this thick book of a brand guideline, these colors to use, image will have this kind of a branding, so on the image this font has to be used, this much of opacity of a website, of a shadow has to be there. There are a lot of minor things which you have to study first before starting the designing. So if you are very clear about the brand guidelines given by client of colors, fonts and images, their usage, then you will start designing the website. Okay, you will take some, maybe it's a purple color logo, so you will have maybe a white color background with purple color menu bar, or maybe some portraits will have purple bars or lines or textures. You can always take some shapes from his logo. Maybe his logo is like this. Okay, this is his logo. So what you will study is you will extract some design patterns out of his logo. Maybe there are two lines going like this. So whenever there is a website, if there is an image, you use those lines on top of it. So you know it looks branded. So you extract colors, forms from their logo, or if there are any brand guidelines given to you, you will extract element from that and you use that on this website, because then client is gonna be happy. Finally, what you want, that you want to make client happy, within promotion, within movement. That's where everything boils down. Okay, so you have to make client happy. The client will be happy if their branding has been used on their website. So his, like Nike, branding. So if we see that tick mark anywhere, we say, oh, that's Nike. So that kind of everybody wants to create that brand identity. So we help them making it through color schemes or forms. Okay. When UI designing is done, we have everything done in Photoshop, clean, nice looking design. Okay. Now we have to give it to web developers, who are the technology guys.